What a Durag Nation. So earlier this morning, it was 2:30 in the morning for me, literally. We had the Embracer Q&A and Q2 presentation. So for those that don't know, of course, the Embracer Group bought Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, the studios behind Marvel's Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, and that deal didn't close until about September 2022, which is why in the last presentation they weren't really able to talk much about Crystal Dynamics at all. Fans were coming in hoping that a definitive answer one way or another, will Avengers get support, or on the other side, if they're going to announce that, you know, the plug's getting pulled, they're not supporting any longer. So I covered this live on my Twitch, so definitely go follow me over there. I'm going to be doing all my live streams over on Twitch until YouTube gets itself together. They are currently not allowing me to make money on my videos, so all the videos I do for YouTube, I'm doing 100% for free just to keep you guys updated. So if you want to actually support me, definitely go hop over on Twitch. That's where I'll be doing the bulk of my streaming. People were initially disappointed because even though they did talk about Marvel's Avengers and they did talk about Crystal Dynamics, they did not give them that definitive answer that they were hoping for one way or another. However, that does not mean they didn't say anything. I actually was watching back these clips when I was getting them from my video, and they actually gave us some insight about the future of Marvel's Avengers. So I want you to pay close attention. In the Crystal Dynamics section, they talked about Tomb Raider, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Legacy of Kain. So this is the Eidos Montreal Guardians of the Galaxy portion. Pay attention to this. This is Phil. He's basically overseeing these collections of studios, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal.
Guardians of the Galaxy game just celebrated its first anniversary, and with that, we passed the 8 million player count. Now, we've seen great engagement from gamers with this title, entering into Game Pass and PlayStation Plus quite recently. I've actually just landed back from a few days in Montreal. I can tell you there's great pride in the team about the game they've made, and there's also great excitement now about how we can drive it commercially within our own business unit. There's also excitement about Eidos' future projects. We're not sharing really anything here, but stay tuned for next year where we hope to come back and tell you more about the games that we're working on at Eidos.
They're excited about Guardians, talking about 8 million players. They're excited to see how they can continue capitalizing on the success of Guardians of the Galaxy by using the Embracer Group, teasing future projects for Eidos Montreal. This is the Marvel's Avengers section of this presentation.
Yeah, so we just announced 2 days ago, actually, that the highly anticipated new hero release of Winter Soldier is coming to Marvel's Avengers on November 29th. Now, with Winter Soldier, we now offer 11 playable heroes from Marvel's universe, 12 including Spider-Man if you're playing on PlayStation platforms. Now, all great heroes need great villains to battle. So MODOK, the original villain from the main story, is back in the long-awaited cloning lab and the new endgame Omega level threat. Now, gamers can team up with Winter Soldier and experience this amazing boss battle together this holiday, as we say, launching on November 29th. To the next slide.
That's it. And also, we were definitely laughing live when they said the highly anticipated cloning lab, because holy, it was supposed to come out 2 years ago. But notice he just read off a press release about patch 2.7. That's it. Nothing about the player numbers, nothing about how excited they are for the future of Marvel's Avengers. Just 2.7, cloning lab. Next slide. But this wasn't the last time they talked about Avengers. Now, people were really waiting for the Q&A portion, and a bunch of questions, as usual, came in about Avengers, and this is what they had to say during that Q&A portion when it came to Marvel's Avengers.
Going on to Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and that presentation by Phil Rogers. What would you say if you would just describe them a little bit more, sort of the main projects? We receive a lot of questions coming in from fans here on the tablet. It's hard for me to choose anyone, but everyone is asking about the Marvel plans. Is this the final update that we see now this winter, or can you share anything more on?
No, I'm sorry for those fans. Our policy is that our publishers and developers are communicating around their projects and brands. So.
And
So very interesting. Now, immediately people dismiss that as we can't talk about it. Our policy is to let the developers talk about, their project. Now, that's not actually the case. Just earlier, Embracer were very openly talking about Volition and Saints Row. And oh boy, were they talking about Saints Row? According to this presentation, Saints Row basically tanked them, but they can talk about it. But he said their policy is the publishers and developers communicate that sort of thing. Rogers, during his Crystal Dynamics presentation, said nothing about the future. Now, the assumption was that because Crystal Dynamics is developing Avengers and they were bought by the Embracer Group, that would make the Embracer Group the new publisher, because originally Square Enix published Marvel's Avengers. They got the license from Marvel for 3 games, and they published Guardians of the Galaxy and Marvel's Avengers. Now, the assumption was that when the deal was made with Square, Crystal Dynamics came over with their Tomb Raider IP and Legacy of Kain, and the assumption was that Marvel's Avengers would transfer over as well. They kind of seemed to imply that's how it would play out when they did the first Q&A the night that the deal was officially launched. However, saying that they can't comment on things between the publisher and the developer means that Embracer isn't the publisher of Marvel's Avengers. That would mean it's still under Square Enix, which would make sense, because if you look at the text, you look at the legal text, the Embracer Group isn't replacing Square Enix is still all over this game. In fact, Marvel's Avengers recently shut down the bug reporting section of their official Discord and are forwarding bug complaints and reports to the Reddit and Square Enix customer support. So it sounds like Avengers didn't actually transfer over to the Embracer Group, but Crystal Dynamics is under the Embracer Group. So this is still technically, it seems, Square Enix's thing. So what that means is that, for now, there's no money coming from the Embracer Group. And if they didn't transfer over, that would have to mean that, and this is a theory that Johnny Rocker, content creator, floated, that the original deal with Square and Marvel with Crystal Dynamics didn't expire yet. The assumption was that at some point the deal would expire. The assumption was that they would get up to Captain Marvel in the Kree invasion, and that would be their obligation. And if this is true, based on what the Embracer Group says, they're not the publisher, that means they're still kind of just riding out this Square Enix thing, which is why we're probably seeing such a dramatic decrease in the quality of content. They're just focusing a lot on skins lately. Square is just getting that skin money, drip feeding content, and they're going to have their contractual obligation, and that'll be it. So that doesn't mean that it's completely hopeless, but mostly hopeless. So if you're hoping for a big influx of money, that doesn't seem to be happening. My guess is that once their obligation to Square is done, then they're going to have to basically pitch to the Embracer Group to get funding for something else or continue to support the game. But for now, it looks like Square Enix is basically holding the destiny of Marvel's Avengers. And we all know Square Enix does not mess with this game. They have openly called the game a failure, say it's lost them money. So the Square Enix perspective is they just want to get that skin money and be out.